Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TBD CFB. This is the first episode of our preseason episodes, and today we're going to start out by making tier lists, starting with the SEC conference. Now we're going to rank them based off the S through the F tier system, and really we're trying to predict who we think is going to be a conference, contender, possibly playoff contender, national championship contender, as well as, possibly some sleepers, rebuilds, and, teams that we kind of say no way. So do you have any thoughts before we get into this?
Yeah, dude, it's been a long, 8 months without college football.
Yeah.
Baseball, as Braves fans, has been abysmal, and it's just great to be talking about college football again.
Yeah. And heavy emphasis on the college football
Yes.
part. NFL preseason does not count whatsoever.
I mean, it is football, though. It's just a little taste.
Just a wee bit of a taste. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Our first team being South Carolina.
Ooh.
South Carolina's record last season, they ended with a 9-4 record. They're kind of middle of the pack in the SEC with the transfer portal activity. A little fun fact about South Carolina, they did achieve their best season under Shane Beamer last season, earning a bowl appearance and showing promise for sustained improvement. Of course, having a tough loss in that bowl game, ending the season. Where do we think South Carolina is going to end up?
Well, let's be real. Ever since Will Muschamp left, it has been nothing but up for South Carolina. You think about last year, you look at the LSU game, they were a couple referee calls away from going 10-2 in the regular season. They could have beat Bama. I mean, they got the onside kickback and made a couple bad plays, did not handle that last 50 seconds well. So you're looking at two games right there decided by 3 points or less that could have gone in their favor. To me, I think South Carolina right now with the way they're playing, still Lenoris Sellers. I'm big on Lenoris Sellers. I've been talking to a lot of people really high on Lenoris Sellers this year. Think he's definitely going to be a possible Heisman candidate. I would probably say right now, I just only on the idea that they have not proven their true potential yet, I'm going to put them at B tier, but I think that they could become an A tier this year.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you on the B tier. I'm worried that they could possibly take a step down just a little bit due to, some players leaving for the draft and stuff like that. There's always that potential for a team to take a step down. But just like you pointed out, Lenoris Sellers is a very impressive player, very impressive quarterback. I would like to see how he does with throwing the ball a little bit more, but that's not necessarily his game plan. Right. He very much is talented with his legs. He does have an arm. I just want to see how he does in situations where he has to throw the ball more often, because kind of like how you brought up from last season, the Alabama game, there were some moments where he had to throw the ball a little bit more often than, he may be comfortable, and there were some iffy passes, some questionable ones at that. So I agree with you. I think we can put South Carolina at a B tier, not quite conference champions, not quite playoff contenders, national champions.
And that being said, I just want to say that I definitely think that South Carolina is a dark horse to go to the SEC championship. Maybe not win the conference, but go to the SEC championship. They definitely have a couple tough games, but they get those games that they had on the road last year at home. Their biggest game on the road, I think, probably being LSU, going to Death Valley. It's not an easy place to play. And I don't want the South Carolina fans to come for me. I love South Carolina. My wife went to South Carolina, and I just want them to know, I'm basically a closeted South Carolina fan. I am a Georgia fan, but I do love pulling for the Gamecocks. So I really hope that they do well this year. I'm pulling for you guys.
And speaking of the Georgia Bulldogs, our next team is going to be the Georgia Bulldogs, ending the season last season as SEC champions, playoff contenders, at an 11-3 record to finish it off. Where do we think Georgia ranks going into this 2025 season?
I think there's a lot of question marks about Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. I think there's going to be a lot of question marks on the D-line and on the offensive line. Lost a lot of guys to the portal. But we still have arguably the number one coach in college football currently. We got some great wide receivers, like you mentioned, Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas in the transfer portal. being the reigning SEC champions and with all of that body of work, I think I'm going to have to put Georgia at an S tier. I think the A tier would work for them. I think it's arguable for both because of what we've lost, but I just think that right now, and this could be a little bit of homeboy bias, I have no idea, but I think that right now we are an S tier.
My issue with Georgia is, I cannot stress this enough. You cannot put them anywhere else but S until they show you something that shows that they aren't S anymore.
Right, because you look at last year and you think, oh, well, Georgia lost 2 games. Well, yeah, there's a lot of teams that lost 2 games, and Carson Beck had the season he had, and the wide receivers and the drops. I mean, we ranked last in the country in dropped passes behind University of Alabama, Birmingham. It was that bad last year at wide receiver, and we still ended up winning the conference. And a lot of things went right. Let's be real. Sometimes things have to go your way, right? In order for us to make the conference championship after losing to Ole Miss, we had to have Alabama and Ole Miss lose in order for us to get into the SEC championship. And you look at teams that they had on their schedule that were left, and it was like, there's no way that's going to happen. Well, Ole Miss drops a third loss to Florida, and Alabama drops a third loss to Oklahoma. Who saw that coming? And not only that, in loser fashion for Alabama, a team that has been great. I know they have Kalen DeBoer now instead of Saban, but Kalen DeBoer still has a great track record at head coach. They didn't even get in the end zone in that game in Norman. So when it comes to Georgia, though, yeah, I think until somebody knocks us off or gives us a reason, or gives you a reason not to, it's gonna be S tier for Georgia.
Yeah, I think you brought up, there are a lot of question marks with Gunnar Stockton, and I think, look, the kid got thrown in within the 2 toughest games, arguably, of the season.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the toughest conference championships
the toughest conference championship in the game.
I mean, Big Ten might debate a little bit, but last season, that was the toughest conference championship you could play in. And then he has to turn around and make his very first start in a playoff game.
Against the runner-up.
We didn't know they were going to be the runner-up.
Fair enough.
To be fair.
Yes.
But they were.
And when you look at his playing in that game, and I don't mean to elaborate on this, I'll say it quickly, but when you look at his playing, he really played well in the game against Notre Dame. But not having our starting left tackle being injured there and giving up, a ton of room to, one of the greatest edge rushers in the game last year at Notre Dame. It was just tough for him to overcome that. And when you are young and in your first start in one of the biggest games of the season, that's tough.
So Georgia, you are ranked at an S tier. This next team, does have a lot of question marks going into this season. Who's going to be playing quarterback? Will the quarterback position truly be dominant like it has the past few years? And if you thought I was going to say Ole Miss, you're wrong. We're talking about Tennessee. Tennessee ending the season last season at 10-3, making their first playoff berth, and having a very difficult, disappointing loss against Ohio State. Josh Heupel, I honestly love him as a head coach. I think he's building a great program there. I think right now with the question marks at quarterback, with if it's Aguilar at quarterback, I have a lot of question marks. Going to Western Carolina University, you get to hear a lot about App State. You get to see a lot about App State. And I wasn't impressed by him. Now, he did transfer to UCLA from App State, and then Nico having his Micah Parsons.
That may have been like the first trade-ish thing we've ever seen in college football.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
And I know the game's changing.
And I think it's crazy too because we see a lot of like contract holdouts with professional players in the NBA, MLB, NFL, and so on. Never did we expect and anticipate it to happen in college, and then Nico, I don't even know how to pronounce it, and then Nico
Iame
Liava, yeah, he holds out, and then all of a sudden he's entering the transfer portal late, mind you, and transfers to UCLA.
And
Aguilar
has been talking mad crap about Tennessee and the SEC.
Yeah, and Aguilar expecting and anticipating to be the starter at UCLA, he's now saying, what the heck? So he answers the transfer portal, and guess what? He goes to Tennessee. So Tennessee Volunteers, where do we rank them on our tier list?
Like you said, I think Josh Heupel is a great head coach still. He just hasn't really been able to get over the hump with Tennessee yet. I think he is the guy to do it, though. I'm going to have Tennessee at a solid A tier, even with the quarterback situation. I think you still have some great playmakers on that team, and I think that they'll be right there in the conversation for the playoffs again this year.
I think that Tennessee is in a very good position to, do what they did this past season. I think there's a lot of developing at the quarterback position that they have to do this season. If Nico was still there, I think they would have been possibly top 3, maybe even top 2 for contender in the SEC. But they had to take a step back, of course. I will agree with A tier. I think they have a chance to contend for the SEC. Honestly, I could argue with B, but just to kind of make this video go a little faster,
Right.
I'll agree with the A tier. I think they're definitely a contender of the conference. It really depends on that quarterback position. Now, you mentioned when talking about Tennessee getting over the hump, and this next team we're going to talk about, you wouldn't think about, they're still battling getting over this hump, but the next team we're talking about is the Texas Longhorns. I believe that the Texas Longhorns have been battling a hump that they still have not gotten over. They had a chance to win the SEC. They had a chance twice to beat Georgia, failed twice, failed at beating Georgia in the SEC
Their
championship.
defensive line is terrified of Trevor Etienne.
They won a playoff game against my Clemson Tigers, yes, but the following game they just couldn't hold through. They kind of did not. Later in the season, they did not look like the Texas we went into the season anticipating them to be. Last season, that being said, their record being 13-3, being the runner-up in the SEC. Where do you think the Texas Longhorns are going to be?
Well, I think that Sark is one of the best things that could have ever happened to Texas. He's a very good head coach. Coming from Alabama, he got off the bottle, became, one of the greatest offensive minds currently in college football, and he's doing really good things at Texas. That being said, they had one of the softest schedules in the SEC last year. Played all the nobodies: Kentucky, Mississippi State, Florida, without DJ Lagway, mind you. But still, they played a lot of nobodies last year in the SEC. They played one of the easier slates. And when Arch Manning came up against Georgia at the end of the first half, he got a couple good runs on us, but overall, the pressure got to him. To be fair, that offensive line that game, I had no idea what they were doing, but he did not do well against Georgia. I'm excited to see what Arch Manning does, because I think we've seen greatness out of him, but really against who, that's my question. Of course, I'm still going to put Texas at an A tier. I think you could make the argument for S tier, but what did they do besides win the playoff game last year? They lost to the same team twice, and it is incredibly tough, as we both know, to beat the same team twice in a season. And they lost to us both times, one in the SEC Championship. Now, in the SEC Championship, they kind of did shoot themselves in the foot a lot, turned the ball over twice, and missed a couple field goals. But still, you lost two of those games to the same team.
Well, I will also say, too, I feel like in the SEC Championship, and this could be debatable, and it could spark some, mean comments in the comment section. Texas looked kind of scared at points against Georgia in that SEC Championship. Quinn Ewers, both times he went up against Georgia, he looked like a shell of himself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was every time in big games.
And I want to give him credit. I mean to interrupt.
Love Quinn Ewers.
I love Quinn Ewers, and he was coming off of injury against us, which is why I think they went to Manning at the end of the first half, and then went back to Quinn Ewers after the first half. But I don't know where I was going with that. But my main point being that Quinn Ewers was hurt against us. I just wanted to point that out. But yes, again, in the second game, he still looked like he did not look like the same Quinn Ewers he'd been all season. But I think that's because I think that Georgia was probably the best, maybe the second best defense that they had played all season. They had to play us twice. Yeah. And we gave their offensive line fits last year. True. That stem to double mug move, I don't know if you've seen it, or maybe you can find it on TikTok and put it right here. It is insane what we were able to do against them last year. So
I and it's you bring this up, and it's one of my main concerns, and I've been hearing it here and there, and that concern is Arch Manning.
Yes.
I think Arch Manning has a few question marks around him, mainly because you are the highly touted, highly recruited quarterback, and you sit on the bench 2 years. Even when Quinn Ewers is injured, struggling, and in that Georgia game, he came in, he gave that offense some life. Now there were some questionable moments, but then Texas opts back for Quinn Ewers, who was injured again and still looked like a shell of himself. So there's some question marks there. You have major media attention. You have all eyes on you. Heisman watch. There's no messing up without somebody pointing it out. And I'm very interested to see how he turns out. But I do agree. I would put them at A tier. I would want to see how Texas performs, against, tougher SEC opponents. And I probably wouldn't even put them S tier until they could, provide a good resume within the SEC and or, providing solid wins, i.e. SEC championship or multiple playoff wins against, an actual, tenured group. I mean, Clemson, love my Clemson Tigers, but that season was not. We weren't even supposed to be there.
And the last thing I'll say when it comes to Texas, you look at Kirby Smart. I heard somebody say this. It kind of reminds me of what Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart looked like. Kirby Smart, he gets his guys good. He goes 11-1 in the regular season or something like that, makes the SEC championship, and who's standing in his way? Alabama and Nick Saban.
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of seemed last year like it could maybe become, I think maybe Feinbaum said this, but it may become something where, like last year, they go 11-1 in the SEC, and they lose the SEC championship again to the same team twice. Maybe he will end up having a Kirby Smart problem.
Yeah, it could very much be that. Our next team also has some issues coming their way at the quarterback position, and some question marks for their coach, who likes to spark some controversy and hurt some feelings. The next team we're speaking on is the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yep.
Last season, the Ole Miss Rebels went 10-3. The transfer portal, they are the third highest active in the SEC. They got one of the most exciting offenses under Lane Kiffin.
Kiffin is the portal wizard.
He is the portal wizard, but he is not the SEC wizard.
Bingo.
So I'm going to go ahead and give my grade and say Ole Miss is at highest a B tier.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I love Lane Kiffin. I love their team, but they're going to have some issues at quarterback. They lost a lot of guys to the draft last year, so I put them at a B, and simply also because they haven't really done anything else. And he's another one of those coaches that, they win 10 or 9 games somewhere in there, but they can never get to that 1-loss or 2-loss schedule. Just like last year, they're headed for the playoffs. We're looking to get 5 SEC teams in the playoffs. And what do? They go on the road to Florida in a trap game and lose.
And it's always something where they can win these big games. And when they have those seasons where they win their big games, they always lose what should be a cakewalk. And it is so disappointing. And until I see them not do that, and with a solid quarterback, which I don't know if they have this season. I mean, they lost Jackson Dart.
Right.
So it's concerning, right? So until I see what this quarterback room looks like, and until I see Lane Kiffin actually, win or prevent themselves from losing more than 2 games, then we'll talk about it. But right now, I think we both agree B tier is where they're at.
B tier for sure.
That was easy enough. The next one might not be so easy. Our next team is going to be Alabama Crimson Tide. Some question marks around the head coaching position. That will probably continue until Alabama looks like the old Alabama. I don't think it's possible. I think, DeBoer has a different scheme up his sleeve. We've seen it, but, they have some promise in that quarterback room. Last season, they ended with a 9-4 record, just outside the cusp of the playoffs. Where do you have Alabama at?
Do you remember the first thing that I said when we started the season last year, specifically about Kalen DeBoer?
No, not really.
I said that he is going to be the only first-year coach in college football that is already on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember why I said that?
Because it's Ala-freaking-Bama.
Because it's Ala-freaking-Bama, dude. You're talking about a dynasty with under Saban, man. You're talking about nothing really worse than a 2-loss season for, 10, 11 years? Their last championship was in 2020, but they were still in the playoff hunt in 2023. Man, it's really tough because Alabama has been so good, but this is not Saban's Alabama anymore, like you mentioned. I think I'm going to give them an A tier. They're outside the cusp of the S tier because he is on the hot seat. This is 9-4 that's something they haven't done in years, dude. That is not the Alabama standard. That is not what their fans were hoping for. I know most of them were extremely upset with how things went last year, but I think that they are on the up. I think that now that Jalen Mildew is gone, they are going to be a lot better than they were last year. The dude was turnover prone. He liked to use his legs. He had the long ball, but now you got a guy like Ty Simpson who has a really accurate long ball, can escape the pocket if needs to, not as much of a runner as Milroe was, but still a really good guy coming in. It's going to be exciting to see how he does, but I think I'm going to have him at A tier, and with Ryan Williams too. I think they're going to be good, but DeBoer's got to prove something. 9-4 was not the standard; it did not cut it. So there's definitely a difference between standard and expectation. I don't think the standard at Alabama has dropped, but I think the expectation has to drop, at least for the fan base, because you're not just going to come in and replace Nick Saban, right? Now, I think that if they miss out on the playoffs, which we're going to get into this in another episode soon, I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs this year. That's just my prediction. However, if they do miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, yeah, you're really on the hot seat and something needs to be taken a look at, because when you're Alabama, you still have the name, the logo, the style, the flair. It's Alabama, dude. It's historical. They're the most historic blue blood in college football.
Yeah.
So you're recruiting at that high level. There's just no way you should miss the playoffs year after year. So, but I think that's a good place to end it for Alabama.
All right, moving on to our next team. We're going to kind of fly through these next few, mainly because we know these teams are not going to be championship contenders, playoff contenders.
Your F tiers, your D tiers.
More than likely. Our first team in the same state as the Roll Tide, the Auburn Tigers.
F tier, easy. Don't even F tier.
Our next team is going to be the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Okay, this is harder than I think. This one, this is tough.
Okay, what do you think?
Well, I think the jury's still out on Sam Pittman, which is kind of funny to think that he kind of is on the hot seat, but even less so than Kalen DeBoer, in my opinion. But you got Taylon Green at quarterback. Dude's going to be good. They lost the really good running back last year, Rocket Sanders, but they're still recruiting at a high level. I think they're going to be middle of the pack again. I'm guessing somewhere between 6-6 and 8-4 for the Arkansas Razorbacks this year. Maybe some things go their way, maybe they don't. I'm going to go solid middle of the road C tier for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
So our next team, this seems tough, but I don't think this one's going to be tough. They ended the season 10-3 last season. It's the Missouri Tigers.
Ooh.
Losing Brady Cook, losing Luther Burden. Where do we see the Missouri Tigers being?
Dude, I'm not even going to lie. I don't even know who their quarterback's going to be this year.
Me neither.
So
Honestly, anything in Missouri, I don't know much about Missouri.
Yeah,
I know they got a college football team.
Those two fans are very excited for the season.
I really like their head coach, though.
Yeah, dude, don't get me wrong. I love Eli Drinkwitz. I think he's good for the program. I think a lot of Missouri fans are probably thinking he's on the hot seat.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think he is either, but I think a lot of them are unhappy with what's going on down there in Como. But I don't think you guys should be upset. Think about Brady Cook last year. Dude was injured. You guys lost 2 games by double digits to SEC rivals. One to Texas A&M, one to Alabama, and still didn't drop out of the top 25. That's something to be excited about. I'm going to put him at B tier. I want to put him at C tier, but I think Eli Drinkwitz is a really good coach. They still went, 9-3 last year?
10-3.
10-3 last year. So yeah, dude. I mean, they won 10 conference. No, they won 9 conference games. No, they didn't. Sorry, they won 9 regular season games, won their bowl game,
Yeah.
which is still a big win. Got Brady Cook out there and won. So I think that Mizzou definitely is still a strong program, which is why I'm going to put them in B tier. I can see the argument being made for C, but I think B tier fits them extremely well.
Our next team, they're tough, they're gritty, they're strong on defense, very strong defensive minded. What is their offense gonna do? Is it gonna improve? You guessed it. It's the Oklahoma Sooners. Last season ending with a 6-7 record. First year in the FCC.
Big pickup for them, John Mateer from Washington State.
Yeah.
I think that guy's going to be really good.
Brent Venables, I don't know what he pulled out.
Me neither. Probably a lot of NIL funds. They also brought the Washington State OC with them, so that probably didn't hurt.
No.
But when you look at Oklahoma last year, offensively, I mean, they were so thin at a lot of positions due to injuries, especially at the wide receiver position. I mean, you might as well had me and you out there running routes at Oklahoma. It was literally that bad. So, but they still pulled off that massive win against Alabama, 24-3. Held Jalen Milroe, picked him off twice, pick sixed him once.
Saved Brent Venables' job.
Yeah, that game literally did. They lose Jackson Arnold, which is, I think, good for them. Pick up John Mateer. I guessed last year that their first year in the SEC, they were going to go like 6-6 or 7-6 or whatever. 7-5, I mean. But the injuries thing, man, I think a healthy Oklahoma team last year does not go 6-7. I think that they're going to be better this year, but I'm still going to put them C tier, middle of the pack, because I just don't know what they're going to look like.
Our next team, it was everybody's team last season in the SEC. America's favorite is Vanderbilt Commodores last season. Ending the season, this is kind of crazy to me because last season everybody was all for Vandy.
Yeah.
Ending the season last season, what was their record?
6-7.
7-6.
Oh, so close.
At the end of this
they finished 6-6 and they won their bowl game against Georgia freaking Tech.
Yep.
Haven't been to a bowl game since like the early 2010s, and their first one they go back to, they win. I think Clark Lea's got them looking in good position.
Oh, yeah.
Diego Pavia fights the Supreme Court, gets to come back for another year of eligibility. I'm big on Diego Pavia, and I'm big on Clark Lea, but I'm still gonna have to put him at D tier just because it's Vandy. It's just because it's Vandy. I'm sorry. Like, I do love y'all. Y'all are the sweetheart of the SEC. We really want you guys to do well. Beating Bama was so huge last year. Like, just historic program win. But let's do some more this year, and we'll see next year. How about that?
Our next team on the tier list, this team's kind of got a lot of question marks. They have promise at the quarterback position, maybe not so much at the head coach position. I think this man has been on the hot seat for a little while now. It's the Florida Gators.
I knew we were going to Florida.
So their 2024 record, it was 8-5.
Yeah.
It was 8-5. But, I mean, let's be real. Did Florida really feel like a team that was 8-5?
No, and let me tell you why. They lost DJ Lagway for like 3 or 4 games mid-season, and they were not the same team. As a Georgia fan, I said this on the podcast last year, and I'm going to say it again. If DJ Lagway does not get hurt in that game, y'all win. He was cutting us up with their wide receivers. We could not cover anything. You're talking about a first-rounder, Malachi Starks, getting burnt by Florida wide receivers. DJ Lagway was dialed in until he got hurt. He was able to escape the pocket, move with his legs. Maybe would have made some adjustments, but they were tied with us in the fourth quarter with their third string from Yale.
Yep.
So I think DJ Lagway is a completely different team. I mean, look, he comes back in against Ole Miss, and what do? They win. So Florida's difficult, I think, because they're such a weird team last year.
It's a big brand.
Yes.
So they have a lot of eyes on them. But within the SEC, where's this team at?
I think DJ Lagway is incredible. I think that good old Sunbelt Billy is better than a lot of people give him credit for. I'm really leaning B tier here, but I think I'm going to settle on C for Florida this year. And that's not like a prediction for me. I just think this is kind of
settle.
like it's kind of like state of the program is kind of what this tier list is. And right now, I think state of the program coming into 2025 is a C tier.
I mean, if you were on College Football 26 with the program where it's at now, College Football 26 probably has it at a 3.5 star.
Yeah.
I mean, recruiting, the pipeline is great, but Billy Donovan hasn't really recruited all that well at a very strong school. Like everybody, a lot of people want to go
Billy
to Florida.
Napier?
What did I say?
Billy Donovan. Who is that?
Billy Donovan. My gosh, I haven't heard that name in a while. Billy Napier. He hasn't really done much.
Billy Napalm.
Yeah, he hasn't really done much with recruiting. Like, he's got, the highly touted here and there, but he doesn't bring in a consistent recruit class. And when he does, it was not good.
No.
So I agree. I think C tier. I got to see more from him. I think they're better than a Vanderbilt and some of the other teams in this conference. But when they compare to a Georgia, a Texas, or Alabama, a team that we're about to list later in just a little bit, they don't compare.
Right.
Not right now.
Right.
Moving on to another 8-5 team that wasn't bad, but they weren't good. They had some question marks. Then they were like, "Hey, stop questioning us." It's the 8-5 Texas A&M Aggies.
Woo.
This team under the new coaching regime already looks better.
Much better than they did with
first.
Jimbo Fisher. Yeah.
And Jimbo Fisher used to be a very great coach. He was not a very great coach when he went to Texas A&M. That's what happens when you chase money, kids.
I remember all the jokes that they were making about, Jimbo's buyout, and that has become Hugh Freeze now.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing because Mike Elko's taken over the program, and I think going 8-5 in their first year, a couple tough losses. Lost to Auburn on the road in a close game. Lost in 3 or 4 overtimes. Couldn't get their last 2-point conversion. Was ahead by a lot against USC in their bowl game. Let them come back on them. Was not able to finish. I think Marcel Reed is a good quarterback. I think that with some development this year, maybe putting on some weight, he will be what the Aggies are looking for. I think, Le'Veon Moss got hurt midseason against South Carolina last year. Got taken out mid-game. Who knows if that would have changed much in the game? I don't know. South Carolina was pretty dialed in that night. But, yeah, I think getting those two guys back, I think Mike Elko is good. I think their defense is good. I'm going to give Texas A&M a B tier.
I was about to say, they also have one of the highest recruited wide receivers in the transfer portal starting for them this season. Concepcion.
Yes, KC Concepcion from North Carolina State. I totally forgot about that. I think that's going to be another big.
That's going to be a big addition.
That's a big addition because he was lights out
at NC State. At NC State.
Yes, who almost lost to Western Carolina. Go Cats!
And go Cats!
But yeah, I think it's big time get for those guys.
And I agree. I think they're B tier. I think they could take that next step this season because, what happens when you have a coach for a good bit who's actually a good coach?
Yep.
Things start to build.
And they have good coaching staff. They have great players that are going to develop this year. They did well in the transfer portal. And one of the biggest things that puts them in the B tier for me is they still have the home of the 12th man. They have one of the hardest places to play in the SEC. It's
some of the greatest fan base.
I think it's between them and LSU for hardest place to play in the SEC. I mean, they make it so difficult in that place.
I agree. I don't think I can disagree with that. Honestly, yeah, I have Texas. I think we come to a consensus Texas A&M B tier. But wouldn't be surprised if they were fighting for a chance in the SEC championship
or the playoffs for that matter
this year. Now, this is probably the most argued team of this season already. The season hasn't even begun. It's one of the top games in week 1. It's the LSU Tigers.
Good old Brian Big Game Kelly.
Oh yeah, good old Brian can't win a first game Kelly.
We're gonna definitely dive into this when we do our
Yeah.
week 1 preview. However, you know,
It's hard to avoid with this.
yeah, because Brian Kelly has not won a first game of the season ever in his tenure at LSU. Lost to Florida State in both games. Their first game started in 2022 and 2023. 2024 loses the first game on the road to Las Vegas in Las Vegas against USC.
I mean, Brian Kelly has difficulty in first games. He has difficulty in tough games. What does that say about these LSU Tigers? Last season they were 9-4 with the Garrett Nussmeier, with going into the season what was supposed to be one of the best defenses in the league. And then after the first game, we realized, oh, it's quite opposite. It was quite opposite.
You know, I think B tier is too low. I'm still going to have to go A tier, and I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it in a couple of weeks when we talk about the first game between LSU and Clemson. But I'm not really that high on Garrett Nussmeier. There's been a lot of hype around him. They named him number 1 preseason quarterback in the SEC. We don't really like talking about the preseason as far as like who's going to do what, because it's just undecided. And now we are TBD CFB, so that's why we're doing this.
And this is as far as we put ourselves into that.
Yeah, but
narrative.
For Garrett Nussmeier, I don't see the hype currently. And something we always say is, you know, like writers got to write and they got to have things to talk about preseason. So I understand why, you know, they have to make lists like that. But to me, it's like I don't like making a list, like a preseason list, just because it doesn't make sense because we haven't seen them play. I mean, sure, you could project all you want to, but what matters is, you know, this game is one of my favorite, you know, I'm a big lover of the Josh Pate College Football Show. One of my favorite quotes of his is that this game is not played on paper. It is played on grass between the yard lines. And that is where I like to stick. However, yeah, I'm going to have to put LSU A tier. Just because I still do think, even though they can't win the first game, they're consistently in the conversation. They have, you know, I mean, LSU just 2 years ago under Brian Kelly, yes, they lost their first game. What did they do? They ended up beating Alabama and got into the SEC championship with a depleted quarterback room, I might add. Jaden Daniels was hurt against Georgia. They lost by 20 points, 50-30.
Yeah.
But, you know, I still think Brian Kelly has it in him. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why he just can't get over the hump, but
I think what the issue is, you know, actually, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's going to be interesting.
I mean, because he played Florida State back-to-back years.
And one of those was in the Mercedes Dome, or what's the Caesar Dome now, in New Orleans.
Yeah, so I genuinely don't know what's going on with him.
And lost in a stupid way. I mean, you know, you drive down the field to tie the game, and you miss the extra point.
Yeah. I mean, I will be the one to admit, like, some of the games he's lost
are silly.
They're silly
losses.
I don't know what happened.
Our other buddy, Isaac, who is also on this podcast sometimes, he said that during that game, he don't even know, like, with all of the special teams issues they had that night, he said that they would have been better off going for 2. I think I agree. Jaden Daniels was locked in that first game against Florida State. So,
and I mean, don't get me wrong. Brian Kelly can build a great team. He has in years past, and he continues to do it. It's just his game plan.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I have him A tier. I think LSU could be a very strong team, but I think also with the amount of attention that's going on to them, I think it could cause them to fall apart and crumble. That being said, I think Garrett Nussmeier has capability of being a Heisman contender, but I also have, for some reason, this thought in the back of my mind that, you know, Garrett Nussmeier could struggle this season. Very much could.
Right.
We really got to see how that defense turns out, because it's just another year that people are saying LSU's defense is going to be one of the best defenses in the conference, let alone overall. And, you know, I don't think this Clemson-LSU game is going to determine either team whatsoever. I think no matter what, both teams are going to be great. But, yeah,
it's too big of a game. It's like when you look at Texas-Ohio State week 1, too, it's like neither one of those, you know, whoever gets the loss, it's not really going to impact your playoff implications, because the other team you played is, you know, going to be a high-ranked team too. Unless, you know, like, let's say, like, you know, I'm not saying this is not my pick, but let's just say Texas goes on the road and loses, right? Now, unless Ohio State ends up losing like 5 games in the season, then it's a quality loss.
Yeah.
And the committee, we've seen, the committee does look at quality losses.
Yeah, I mean,
they did for Missouri last year.
It's it's starting to pick up and it's starting to make a lot more sense. I mean, college basketball is doing the same thing with its quad 1, quad 2, whatever.
And I know that was our last team, but I love that this year there is no like auto bid for the conference champions at 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just an auto bid into the playoffs. I love that they're going to do seeding based on how good the team actually is.
And I think we actually said this before. At the beginning of our season last year.
Yeah, and I don't even think we understood it last year, because the way I understood it was that the group of 5 champion could not get an auto bid. So what it actually was last year was it was the 4 highest ranked conference champions, not just the Power 4. So I misunderstood that, and I was wrong on that last year. But it seemed like some of the announcers and the people on ESPN, Fox, who were talking about the college football playoff didn't understand how Boise got a first round bye either last year. So I really like that, they look at how good a team actually is now, instead of just like, oh, you won your conference championship? Because we know that not all conference champions are created equal.
We may have to cut that. Anyways, that does it for the SEC tier ranking. Up here on this wall is going to show, the complete list of how we ranked everybody. It was a lot of fun. Next episode will be the ACC, so keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already, All Coast Conference. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Go check us out on Spotify.
Turn your notifications on for when we post a new video.
Turn your notifications on when we post a new video. Check us out on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. Don't check us out on Twitter. I don't think we post on there anymore.
I don't even think we have one anymore.
Yeah, we don't really have Twitter.
I think it's still called TBD Sportscast. So
yeah. Oh well.
Anyway,
but thank you all for coming, and we will see you next time.
And always remember, no matter what team you pull for, if you're on God's side, you're always on the winning team. There's a Father in heaven who loves you and wants to know you. If you have any more questions about that, you can always hit us up. Reach out to us. We're praying for our listeners, and we love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Later.